Welcome back to the Brave Bitches podcast. Hi, Jess.
Hey.
Woo. Okay, this is amazing. I am so glad you agreed to do this with me because I was just talking about this before. We literally haven't talked since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And so we met when we both went on a mission trip to Ecuador when we were 15, right? 15? Yeah.
I think that feels right. I'm like trying to think about what year it was. And I'm like, I don't know what year that was, but yeah.
I want to
15
say I
feels
was
right.
15. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like really close in age because I think you
Yeah.
just had your 30th birthday, right? And
Yeah,
my 30th
31st.
is coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So anyways, it's wild. We've stayed connected through social media, but haven't like really chatted in a while. And so I'm excited that I get to know you a little bit today and hear your story and just so yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Of course. Yeah. I'm like, a lot has happened since Ecuador. So for both of us.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
15 years is a long time, and a lot of growing up happens between the teen years and like the 30s. Good stuff and bad stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I want to hear like if you were to just like introduce yourself in like a few sentences to describe you and your story a little bit, like what would you say?
Ooh, that is a good question. Okay. If I could describe my story, oh gosh. I think for me, that's like so tricky. What? So I think the way I would describe it is self-discovery, realization, lots of faith thrown in there, just trying to figure stuff out like my own way. And then coming to, just kind of realization, like and lots of like joy, like a lot of lows, but like having to be there and then you get to rise out of that and see, oh, wow, okay, I'm a completely different person now. And like, it's for the better. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's just definitely transformation. I think we all have some sort of metamorphosis transformation coming, especially from teen years, right? And then like into 30s, those are two different life things happening. And so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And 20s is a wild time. I feel like you change a lot in your teen years, but you're still ultimately a kid, I think, in a lot of ways. And 20s is like when you really start to decide who you are and what kind of relationships you hold. And it's just like such a developing time, I feel like. Which makes it really difficult, I think, in certain times.
But yeah. Well, and I think our 30s is what we thought our 20s would feel like. If that makes sense. Right? Yeah. So I think that's where I finally am like, oh, okay. Well, I kind of like now have money to buy all the things that I wanted to buy when I was, say 18 or, even 16, just like, oh, okay. So
and
I
you're
feel
feeling
like
more confident in yourself too. You're like, oh, I actually like myself and like I know what I like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm like, oh gosh, the 20s are like, get bamboozled. And the 20s you're like, this is going to be awesome, guys. It's just like train wreck. You're just like, what is going on?
You're like all this build up to be like 21, I feel like, and you're like, what's 21? Like everything's awesome, and then you hit 21, and then it's just like, whoa, what the heck? Who am I? What am I doing with my life? I also feel like midlife crisis happens like in your 20s now. I've noticed for a lot of people. I feel like I haven't gone through my midlife yet, so maybe I have another one coming up. But
it's the quarter life. It's the quarter life crisis. So I had it at 20. I had it at 25. I really did, and I was just like, "Is this really a thing?" It's just like existential crisis. Just like, what is going on? Who am I? What am I doing? Like, why am I not as far in life as I wanted to be? Like, who are all these people around me? Like, what is this? It is seriously a thing. And I'm seeing like so many more people go through it. And I let them know. I'm like, it's okay. You're just going through your quarter life crisis. You're going to come out on the other side. It's just the process.
Yeah. You got to go through the discomfort and like wade through the like identity shift and and I feel like for you too as well, you became a mom around that time, right? Or was that after?
No, I did. So I got married at 23 and I think I had my first at 25. Yeah, because he just turned 5. So yeah, around that time. And I felt like that was it was a weird shift, right? Because I feel like the year before that, I was like none of this is making sense. It's all pointless, right? And then I become a mom, and I'm still having kind of those feelings. Like I feel like motherhood brought a different purpose, but there's still that feeling of like, yes, I'm a mom, but I'm also still a person, under that hat, right? And so trying to figure out who that person is, and I think that got shielded a lot in motherhood, just because it's just, I mean, it's hard, especially with your first. You just are. It's all about your kids, and it still is, but I think now we've gotten a good rhythm in our home for me to be able to do things that I actually like and enjoy. And I'm feeling like I have uncovered myself quite a bit. And I feel like, even though COVID was dumb and it sucked, but I feel like a lot of it helped with that too. Is like, I got to actually like, oh, okay, we actually have nowhere to be. So I get to like sit with myself in these feelings and be with my, be with my kids and at that time I only had one, but with my husband, and just kind of like figure all that out. And then, you come out on the other side and you're like, all right, cool. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, if I can do that, if we could roll through that.
Yeah.
We can take anything.
Seriously. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, I feel like I went through such a transition period when actually for me it was more like 26, because then all of a sudden I realized I'm closer to 30 than I am 20. And there was like just a wave of realization where I was like, whoa, this life is actually moving a lot faster, because when you're younger it feels like it moves so slow. And then you hit 26 and all of a sudden I felt like time is moving like 10 times faster than it did before. But I can only imagine also stepping into that role of motherhood and taking on like another responsibility and having another human there where you're helping them like become themselves, and you're trying to figure out who you are. Like, that's a lot to hold. That's a lot to shift and carry and like become who you are. So it's interesting that the pandemic, because of all that extra space, ended up assisting you in a way, allowing you to have that space to like breathe and figure it out.
It for sure did. Yeah. I mean, of course we all had our panic, but also like what's going on, but also it was just like a sense of like, okay. And I think during that time, I felt like it allowed things to slow down. Like even time felt like it slowed down because we weren't in a rush. And I feel like a lot in like Western society, it's very much like, you got to do everything so quick, fast. Like you can sleep when you're dead. It's fine. Like there's no chill, And so I think it took that time to just reset and just actually chill. Like, I mean, we had stuff going on, but it was like, okay, let's just refocus. And I think in that time I actually intentioned myself, like I can't control the things that go on necessarily outside of my home, but my home gets to be the safe place where every person who walks through the door can feel safe and can feel loved and secure. And so I think that was super helpful in that too, not only in my home, but in myself. Like I want people to feel safe with me, And so even in that whole thing, I'm like, nah, I can control what's right here. So we're not going to freak out because we're right here. We're good.
Yeah.
We're locked in. And so, that
you
really
could create
helped establish that.
The sanctuary and the space in you and in your home. How do you feel like you did that? What was like some of the steps you did to like create that safe space?
That's a good question. I think majority of it was mindset, because if I was feeling super overwhelmed and chaotic, that definitely came out in my relationships, that came out in what my home looked like. That came out in how I felt when parenting. I feel like we have normal things that overwhelm us, but I'm somebody like, if my space is not necessarily clean, I feel like really like, ooh. And imagine at the time I have a newborn, he's like 1, and it's a lot to, my husband works full time. And so for me, it's just like having to keep track of all of these things. And it's just like, oh, okay, some of these things can get left on the wayside. Like, so I had to see what was important. And I think making sure that like me and my husband were on the same page, that helped a lot. Like, so we do something called like heart check. If we haven't met with each other in a while, we're like, okay, heart check. And so basically what that means is like, you put everything out on the table. Nobody is coming from a position of offense. We're listening to actually listen. If we need to repeat, we say, what I hear you saying is, and if that's not correct, we repeat it. You're just like, no, actually, I don't mean that, but thank you for telling me what you heard. So it was just very safe where everyone can put their guard down, and it allowed us to kind of work out stuff that we just maybe felt like we weren't getting what we needed, or just reestablishing new things. It's like, okay, I'm sorry that I didn't know that I was doing that, or that you felt that way. Okay, what can I do to make this better, or change it, or fix it, And so it left that space open, and that way we could, kind of just have our space feel more open too. But yeah, I think that helped a lot. Definitely mindset. Yeah. I think, I mean, I feel like our generation kind of is pretty good about knowing like that kind of the steps to take in that, the tools. Yeah. I feel like we have definitely established that. And so just knowing that can shift so many things. So yeah, that definitely was the first step. And then it's like everything else followed through from that. So
totally. Yeah. I love that heart check. That is such an amazing relationship tool. Like, I feel actually for Justin and I too, during 2020, that was a huge year for us figuring out communication and just like navigating a lot of things, being under stress, high stress, and all these, figuring out how to listen to each other better and all those things too. But so now we kind of have our own way of doing a heart check, except for we call it Phoenix. Okay. And, and it's more like when we say that, that means like the other person's basically got to shut up and let this person just go and say everything. We're not trying to fix each other. We're not trying to do anything like that, but it feels so good to be able to know that you have space to just like be and have someone listen. Yeah. But that came from a lot of rough points getting to that point where you figured out that system. For you, like, what was the journey that got to where you guys were like, okay, we need to figure something out? And how did heart check like come about?
So before we got married, we had premarital counseling, which was super, super good. I'm like, anybody who doesn't get it, like, you need it. Because there's just some things you don't think to talk about. I mean, you're just, you talk about like, we say like the larger things, but I feel like there's small, like little nitty gritty things that we don't talk about. Like, who do we expect to take out the trash, or who do like it's not, and not even like having to do with like gender roles, but just establishment, like what is the expectation as my role as your wife, like what, or as the husband, or and so it's like, what do we expect from each other in this relationship? And so I mean, it's like, I say it's easy, but it's easier to talk about kids, or like, what kind of home do you want to live in, or what kind of, those things are all fun and they're great, but like, there's like really deep stuff that you don't talk about that leads into how you were raised. And so I think that kind of helped us a lot, because I felt like there was a lot of things that we had to deal with, and we were battling because of how we were raised. So our differences coming in, and like, my husband was raised very differently, like single. Sorry, my little guy's like coming in here. He's running. And can you go? You say hello?
Hi. Oh my goodness, you're so cute.
Okay, I will be in just a second. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get some marshmallows. Uncle, give me more marshmallows. Hey, yeah, but you gotta go out. Marshmallows. Yeah, go out. Oh, right. Okay.
The little marshmallows.
It's like marshmallows.
I love it.
But yeah, just, I think the biggest things was just the having to face our upbringing, and then mesh it together to something that was our own, and not just like how we were brought up. So I think that was where it kind of started, and a lot of where the misunderstandings were happening. Even like we know communication is huge. So even the way that he communicated, like, I feel like that was a huge struggle for us in the beginning too. Like, I come from a family that is like, I wouldn't say that we're like, we just like share everything. I mean, we're pretty close and we're open people, but like in his family, he didn't have to like keep up with each other, or like they just kind of did what they wanted, and and I just like, that's not how we do things around here. You're gonna have to let me know what's going on, So I feel like that was like a huge thing for us for a while, just kind of realizing like, we're on the same team. I'm not trying to know your business to be nosy or like in your business, but like so that I can like be a better partner to you, be a better wife to you. So I think a lot of that came out of that, and because we had that foundation of our pre-marriage counseling, and we actually did a marriage retreat also. That was really, really helpful, just to reconnect, because you can just get lost in the mundane, and it happens. I mean, so I think we had to get back to that, like, okay, what's going on with us? Like, where are we losing? Where's our connection getting lost?
Yeah.
And at the time, his job was super busy too, and so we kind of had to find time here and there, and we were needing that intimacy and that connection with each other that we weren't getting, and so that's where a lot of it kind of stemmed from. So, and it took a little bit to realize that too, you know. So yeah, I think just in the very beginning, that, I mean, definitely, I'm like, if you have a good marriage counselor, it's just so good to talk stuff out, really. Yeah. And
have an outside perspective who sees who sees it like from a general perspective instead of like, yeah, I think you're right. We do come into these relationships with all these biases and kind of perspectives that come from our childhood and the way we saw other relationships. And we don't even realize that we just assume everything's going to look like that. Or, they must feel the same way as me, and this is how we're going to communicate, or this is how we're going to handle money, or, you know, like different needs for intimacy or like touch points throughout the week and stuff can look so different for relationships. Like Jess and I mean, we were raised completely different as well. And so there were so many things that I was like, why are you doing it that way? That's wrong. Which just doesn't work, right? Like, I'm like, this is wild. Like, this is who thinks like this type of thing, right? At the beginning of our relationship, or, you know, especially like I'm thinking about the way he would approach like family get-togethers and stuff. I was like, this is so weird that everyone just does their own thing when we're all together, and like, I felt so disconnected. I was like, where do I fit in? He goes, you just do your own thing. And I'm like, this is weird, right? Okay. Because my family's like all up in each other's business. And we're like constantly like, you know, we're not arguing, but we're just like.
That's my family.
Very lively, like active, kind of sarcastic. We're just picking at each other the whole time, right? And that's how we're showing love. That's how we're communicating.
Right.
And for Justin's family, his is like, freedom is very valued. So like getting to have your own independence and getting to like make your own choices. And so I love those things. Like now I want to pull those things as like when we have kids, like raising our kids, I want to pull some of those elements from his family and some from mine. But it's just wild how like I didn't even know I had these assumptions of what a healthy relationship looked like, what family relationships look like, until we were together, and I realized we need to figure out some sort of middle ground here. Like, there's not right or wrong; it's just different, right? And it's humbling, and it's so good. Like, I love it because I think that so many people say like marriage is so hard, and I'm just like, life is hard. Okay, like it's just
you choose your hard. I definitely say that. I'm like, you choose your hard. We're all gonna deal with some hard. You get to choose yours. For the most part. Some things we don't get to choose, but
but being in relationship with others, whether that's like marriage, family, friends, or whatever, it's always going to require effort and putting in work and figuring out your own shit and humbling yourself and like, but I think it's just the greatest. I love that I have someone in my life that encourages me to always be better. Like that's, you can't beat that.
No, I think that's just like what it's about. It's like, is that person helping you like achieve your goals as well as you helping them do theirs, you know, just like rooting for each other. I think that's kind of the whole thing. And it just came back down to that. It's like, we're on the same team. I'm not ever coming from a place of attack. 100%. Even if it comes out that way, or you perceive it that way, or I just don't realize. But
I'm so sorry. I lost power.
No, you're good.
Oh my gosh. I literally was like, nah.
I know you were. I was like, oh no. I was like, Hannah, where'd you go?
We're just going to continue the conversation pretend this didn't happen. And I will cut out the audio. As you can see, I'm sweating because in the 2 minutes that the power went out, it's like 100 degrees here. It gets really hot.
It was just, we were just talking about being on the same team. And how it was just so important. We're never coming from a place of like being malicious. It's always just, even if it comes out the way that we don't think that it should, or it sounds wrong, or the perception is wrong, we are never intending. And I think that takes a lot of the pressure off of us too. It disarms everybody. It's like, okay, my partner's not coming in here with the thought of trying to hurt me. And so I think it just has like less guard, you know?
Yeah, I know. That's actually, I had a friend get married recently, and they came up to me and they're like, "What's some marriage advice you have?" Which I was like, "That's funny because we've only been married 5 years." But I was like, "Always remember, it's you and him versus the problem,
Yep.
not you versus him,
Yep.
because you're on the same team." And
Yep.
that's like the biggest lesson that we had to learn is like, if you can look at it that way, then you get to tackle it. You get to
Mm-hmm.
come up with solutions. If there's like something that you can both come at with ideas and there's like more
Mm-hmm.
receptiveness to the other person's side,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to solve the problem and
Right.
not trying to solve each other, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
but
Yeah.
that's not something that came to me naturally.
Right. Right. Well, and no, this is definitely true. And I think so. I feel like in that too, I think it took a lot of in the beginning because like faith is really big for us. We're Christians. And so I
Mm-hmm.
feel that I think it came to the fact of where, okay, how can I, instead of trying to change him, my prayer was always like, God, show me where I am failing so that I'm focused more on myself and my relationship with God. And I'm not trying to nitpick because I can worry about me. Some things I can't change about my husband. I can't change my husband. He is who he is. Right. And so of course we can improve and just voice our concerns or, qualms, but otherwise, I mean, we honestly just can't control somebody else. And so I had to take that attention off of him and say, okay, show me where I can be a better wife and a better partner and then it took a lot of me, one, being intentional and praying for my husband and speaking good things out in him instead of focusing on that problem. I was just like, no, like, God, help me to see how hard he works for us. Help me to see how good of a dad he is. Yeah, these things are we're struggling with these things and we're going to work them out. But have me not just sit in that bitterness and being upset about it. Because how many times do we like talk about a problem or something and we think that it's resolved, but we still have those leftover feelings, right? And so I had to really just establish in myself too. It's like, no, we're not going to hold on to that because that doesn't help grow or flourish our relationship. And so I definitely spent a lot of time in prayer and just meditating the scriptures. And I'm like, Lord, make me more like you to where I can just be more loving and more gracious. We're all trying to walk through this life and it looks different how we are walking and responding, and just have me to be gracious in my response to the things that are going on around me. Yeah, that definitely, had to like just establish that and just sit down. And I think that goes back into figuring out like myself, right? That self-discovery that had to happen in there too, it's just like, what are these things that I, believe in or don't believe in, or what do I believe about life? What do I believe about relationships? What do I believe about myself? And so just going into that and digging into that. And so that really, helped. I'm like lots of time in prayer. Just lots and lots of time of just like reflecting and praying and journaling and sitting with all those feelings.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think you're emphasizing the focus on how you can change and how you can shift and adapt and humble yourself. And I think not only does that help your mindset and how you perceive your partner, but it also, I'm sure, bleeds over into how you communicate, right? Because if you're always looking, you are the problem, then when you communicate, you're like, why do you always do this?
Right.
And it comes at you, like, you're the problem here. I need to fix you. And no one's going to receive that well. Like, even even the most humble of people, you feel the attack behind that, right? But if you're coming from like, this is how I'm feeling. I'm struggling here. Like, what can we do? And I feel like that just comes from you having the perspective of like, I'm trying to work on me here, but I'm trying to work on me so that we can we can love each other and we can create a solid family unit. And that's powerful. Like that, I'm sure that also so overflows into your kiddos and also how they interact with you and how they interact with your partner. And just your whole family unit is better because of that focus.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this. I feel like so many good things for people that are in relationships. Just listen to
Yeah.
Jess. She's
Thank you.
she's figuring this stuff out.
Well, and it's so
Oh,
funny because I went through hardship with relationships. Like I'm like on the topic of relationships, not even just marriage, but I felt like when I was a teenager, I was not a good friend.
mm,
And I struggled with that. Like I know a lot of people have like that they were bullied stories, and I feel like I come from this perspective of like being the bully and for no reason. And I
mm,
think it was mainly wanting to be accepted. And that, I mean, and it's interesting. I'm like, this can go so many different ways. So I'm trying to like go like this, but a lot of it, like I come from, my parents we grew up in like very diverse neighborhoods. Like we were around so many different people. And so I think one that was definitely a benefit for us because we did get to experience a lot of different cultures and different people. And like, that was never a problem. But I think it harmed in a way too, because in a lot of those spaces, I was token black girl, and
mm,
it was hard, right? Because you want to be accepted and you don't want to look like it, what the stereotype is, and so you're like, no, I'm not like that. So a lot of my things that I did was because of, one, I didn't know who I was, and I wanted to be accepted by these people in the groups that I was in, which makes sense as you're growing up, right? And so it was more of like, okay, if I can be the most like person, just be really charismatic and outgoing, and if I hurt people, okay, like it's just kind of one of those things. And I think I struggled with that. I had best friends, and it just like I was just not a good friend, and that was something I had to rectify in adulthood. Like I was not a girl's girl, and I struggled with that because I was like, I don't even want to be friends with girls anyway. They're just dramatic. They cause a lot of drama. I was definitely like with the
yes.
dudes. Like I was very much, and I think they call that pick me girl. Like right now, like I definitely I
Yeah.
definitely was that. Like I was very tomboyish, like, and just, I mean, that was just me, right? But I think as I grew up, I really struggled to establish girlfriend relationships because I had that feeling of girls bring drama, but I was bringing drama, right? And I had to, as I
Mm,
grew out of that, I had to really, one, forgive myself for the way that I would treated people, and had to realize it came from a place of like wanting to be accepted and not being confident in who I was. And then on the other side too, ask people for forgiveness that I had wronged.
mm,
And that was like, that was hard. And again, that goes back to, and just being in the Word of God and just digging. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting with these feelings, but I can't accept these truths that God calls me. God calls me beautiful. He calls me beloved. He calls me forgiven, but I can't forgive myself. And I'm holding on to these things that I
mm,
can't even enjoy beautiful girlfriend relationships because of this thing that has been, just eating at me. And so
mhm.
I went through, I would say, a year. It was a whole year of like just reaching out to people that I had wronged. And
Wow.
it was very humbling. It was hard, and the key wasn't to reestablish friendships. It was
Mhm,
basically to say, hey, I was a really crappy friend, and I acknowledge
mm,
that and my part in that. And I like did not. I mean, a lot of the issues you're probably having is because I was such a bad friend to you. Like, and just realizing that it was for them, but it was for me. Like I had to let them know, like, I'm so sorry, and that was hard. And so now stepping into adult relationships, I feel like within the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I feel like I finally feeling like I can be a girl's girl. Like I have a good hold on that, right? Because I am so much like, oh no, like if somebody's husband's acting crazy, I'm like, nah, 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 nah. Like I'm like, don't worry, I'll treat you how you're supposed to be treated. You need to talk to your husband about it,
mm,
but don't worry, you're not gonna have lack of love here. And so that
mhm,
has really, it sucked that I had to go through that, but because now I know who I am and I'm so strong in that, I can help instill that in other women too. And like, that's literally my heart, right? My passion, literally, I do all these things, but my passion is for women to know just how extraordinarily loved they are and welcomed they are into spaces. Like, there's always going to be a seat at the table with me, because I've learned to just love and accept differences, which is like, so just, I'm just like, okay, I'm finally in that place, and like, even with like, so with my best friend who lives in Minnesota, she's so good at friendships, and I've learned from her so much, just how she approaches friendships. Like, we even went through a friendship book together, and it was amazing. And it really opened up. Again, it goes back to like childhood. It goes back to those deep things. Like, if you're struggling with something, it more than likely you got to dig, right? And it's uncomfortable to dig. It brings up feelings that we don't want to face and confront, and monsters and things, and and so it is uncomfortable, but then you have to think about, on the other side, how remarkable it is, and you get to step into that beauty and receive it, right? Because then you've already been prepped for it. You're like, okay, I dug in this, and I'm not that person who's there. I was holding on to those things, but I'm no longer that person. And so, yeah, just that whole release and becoming the friend that I wish I was has really just, helped all my relationships with women in particular, flourish. Like, that is definitely my heart. I'm like, oh no, you're not about to talk bad to yourself. I'm like, that's rude. You're telling me that I'm like, you telling me that I don't have a good, sense of judgment. You talking about yourself like that, right?
Yeah. You're like, excuse me.
I was like,
no,
I would not be friends with somebody who's like that. And you're not like that, so you better stop.
Yeah. You're like, no, wait, you're disrespecting me by disrespecting you. Yes. Like, stop.
Yes. Yeah.
I love
it. So I just, I'm definitely not proud of those parts of my story. But again, like, having to confront it and say, this is part of who I was, but now I just get to love you well. And I'm glad to be in that part.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I relate so much to your story. It's like, and also as you're talking about creating spaces where women feel like loved and welcomed and wanted to be there, right? That is so exactly what my passion is, and like why I do what I do, why I have this podcast, why I do the women's events and stuff, because I feel that same way. Like, for me, I experienced so much of my teen years where I was a horrible friend, and mine was more so a lack of communication. So if there was any sort of like problem that happened, someone communicates something to me, or they get upset at me or something, I'd be like, oh, drama, just like you said, right? I'd be like, girls are drama, and I would just drop the friendship and they wouldn't hear from me, and I would just ghost people. And horrible. I lost so many friendships that I could have potentially had really amazing long-term relationships with, because they were good at, like, really beautiful women, but because I was just selfish and only cared about wanting to avoid everything difficult, wanting to avoid difficult conversations, wanting to not humble myself and admit that I did something wrong. I would just avoid all conversations and relationships. And I have one friend that we're still best friends since 4th grade, but I 1,000% only attribute that to her. Now at this point, like, there's effort on both sides, but there was a period of time for probably like 5 years where it was so one-sided, and she was so loving to me, so consistent to me, and continually showed me what a friendship could look like, and what loyalty looked like, and what listening looked like, and what just being able to communicate. Like, our friendship didn't shift into something that was really special until she was able to like call me and tell me all the ways that she had been hurt by me, and she had like held on to some stuff for some times, and like communication and being confrontational is not her strong suit, right? And so when she said this to me, I was like blown away, because I knew that like this is something that was so important, and because of her, she was like a catalyst for me to see like I needed to change, and this was not okay, and I was never going to feel good in my relationships until I was able to like look inside myself and see my crappiness, and but yeah, once I was able to do that and shift that and love on others and love on myself and realize, like, really it was mostly just facing my weaknesses. When I
Yeah.
could face, like, okay, I'm not great at, having tough conversations
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and like being willing to say, like, that's a struggle of mine, and admit that and be transparent about that with
Yeah.
people I love. Then it
Yeah.
was like, okay, I could receive other people where they were when they were struggling. I could
Yeah.
receive other people's uncomfortable conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
I could then receive like love, because I was like, they're seeing me for who I am now, right? Instead of
Yeah.
just who I'm pretending to be.
Exactly.
And now I can actually receive your love, because before I couldn't receive you, I would just think,
Mm-hmm.
well, of course you like me. This is who I'm creating for you,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so all that to say, I feel now that,
Yeah.
like, one of my cornerstones of life, and what is so a beautiful growth tool and fun and like fills my tank, is my female
Yeah,
friendships and
for
my
sure.
relationships with other women. and
Yeah.
and so it's like, I want every woman to have that. I want every woman to feel
Yeah.
connected and
Yeah.
loved, and feel like feel seen
Mm-hmm.
and feel
Mm-hmm.
heard, who they are, where they're at, weaknesses, strengths,
Yeah.
all those things. And
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's what I'm trying to create. And I just love to hear, like, other people like you just say that same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
be willing to be vulnerable and about your weaknesses
Yeah.
as well. And
Yeah.
that's where true intimacy happens, and where,
Mm-hmm.
like, when we can talk about our stories. And I think by both of us sharing these things as well, like, there's women that are listening that are like, I totally relate to that,
For sure.
or I know someone that has experienced something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
are able to hopefully allow them to, like, share their story a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah. Find some freedom, because we don't need to be hanging on. We
Freedom.
don't need to be hanging on to that stuff. We don't need to hang on that.
No, girl,
You
we
need to
don't.
face it and move on. Say, okay.
Face it,
Yeah.
move on. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love it. It's so
Yeah.
good. And thank goodness for women that are willing to,
Yeah.
like, hold us to a standard, right? That's like my friend did for me, where she was like, I know you're better than
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And that's like, because a good, like, relationships are not just about, like, ooh, lovey-dovey, I hope you feel good all the time. It's
No.
like, a lot of times it's like, it's truth, right? It's speaking the
Mm-hmm.
truth, and being willing to say, like, I know that you are worthy of more than this, that you can
Yeah.
be more than this,
Yeah.
but also I'm going to love you where you're at, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Being able to put in that work into the relationship. It's just like, even in a marriage relationship, it's like literally feels the same. You have to put
Yeah.
the time. You're like, if I believe that this friendship is like my bestie, or like my really
Mm-hmm.
good friend, I'm going to put in the work to be that friend that
Mm-hmm.
they need, and be
Yeah.
willing to be, I say be willing to be inconvenienced, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
things are inconvenient. They feel like you said, like confrontation 100% always feels inconvenient for me.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I don't have time for that today. Thank you very
I
much.
was like, I don't want to talk about that. Nope. But I like, that's like the insight. I would never say it to my friend, but I'm like, you know what? Okay, let's talk about it. Let's do it. This is uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable, but it's going to be fine, because, we have that safe place. It's never from a place
Mm-hmm.
of wanting to hurt the other person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love it. It's so good. So good when we
Yeah.
can lean into that and lean
Mm-hmm.
into each other. And yeah, that's like really what life's about, I think, so much so, is those relationships,
Yeah.
and not pretending like we can do it all on our own, because you really
Yes.
can't.
Nope. It's all about community.
No.
It's about community.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is. It really is. And
Mm-hmm.
that comes from so many different relationships. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
community is beautiful and special, and it's
Mm-hmm.
our greatest teacher and our greatest, just like, inspire, like, all the good things, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like this kind of a random way I'm connecting it in, but I'm
Okay.
going to connect it in anyways,
Okay.
because I want to explore this with you.
Okay.
I see that you talk a lot about, like, health and wellness, but I
Yeah.
also see how you talk about that as well in community, and how you've, like, created these different avenues of holistic health for yourself and for
Mm-hmm.
your family.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been wanting to talk to you about that. And
Okay.
as I went in, like, a deep dive on your Instagram,
Yeah.
I was like, I was really just realized there's a lot that I hadn't explored, right? So you've had some health problems and
Yep.
but you've used both Western and natural medicine
Yep.
to help yourself and your family. So I'm curious, like, how did you get into that? Like essential oils and green juices, and like, how does it benefit you and your unit?
Yeah, so that's huge. Actually, I got into oils. I had already been like kind of like dabbling in oils, but I didn't really like know how to use them. I was just like, oh, they smell good. That's nice. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. But then COVID happened, and so that's how I met my best friend Megan. Was through an oil business, but it's so funny. I tell her this all the time. I'm like, yeah, I stalked your page. I was like, I'm gonna be friends with that girl. I literally like, and she's like, I would say she's pretty big on the influencer list. And I was just like, and it's just the sheer way that she loved her family and loved her kids. And I was like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Let's be friends.
Yeah. It was so inspiring. And just how she just approached life. And so I literally was like looking at her Instagram. I was like, I'm going to be friends with her. I don't know what's going to take, but it's going to happen. And like, mind you, I don't know her.
So did you slide into this girl's DMs? You're like, I'm trying to be friends.
Like lightweight, right? Like I was like, hey, so oils, because I genuinely wanted to know more about that. Like that was like my total aim. And it was so funny because like she was like helped me just like kind of establish like my business and things like that. And so it was really cool to get to know her in that aspect. But it was funny because she was like, there's something more. I was like, I wanna invest in this relationship. And I was just like, yeah. I was like, I'm glad it's
You're like all along.
So she's like so sweet. She was just like, hey, this is gonna sound weird, but like, do you want to invest in a relationship with me? Like in our friendship? And I was like, say less. Like I was like, I already told I like I saw you and I was like, that girl's gonna be my girl.
That is such a cool way to ask someone that. I love that. Like, you invest into this? Like,
no, so it's like really been like the sweetest thing. So from that stem just this beautiful knowledge of learning about oils, learning about plants for our bodies. And I've been plant-based for about a while. Let me think about this for a second. It's been a while. It's been like 9 years, maybe 10. Yeah, 9 years. I've been plant-based. And so I kind of was like, okay, this is kind of along the avenue of what I am doing anyway. So yeah, we dug into that. I had just had my baby, Ezra, who's 5 now. So he was like 1, when we first established a relationship. And so from that, it just brought me into so much knowledge about how important plants are for our life. And I was just like, all right, that's cool. I think my family would identify me as like crunchy hippie mom, like for sure. But like I also have we're going to eat a bag of chips and we eat lots of French fries.
Yeah. You know, it's balance,
like,
right?
We have that balance, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I encountered some health issues. So I was pregnant with my youngest, he just turned 3. And so my midwife, she was giving me my check and we found like a lump. And I thought it was the baby for so long. And I was like, this is weird though, because he's not moving. Like he's moving and I feel him other parts, but there's no way that he's just staying right there. So it wasn't on my cervix. It wasn't like on my uterus, like nothing damaging, right? So we weren't concerned about it. She's like, it's probably just a fibroid. We're not going to worry about it. As long as it's not bringing you any discomfort, the baby seems fine. We're just going to be fine about it. And so I had him, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother. Both of my births are like, a whole nother thing. But so come to find out, I think I was about 3 months postpartum with him, and I went to the doctor and I was like, I'm extra. There's a mass like that we want to just kind of get figured out. So they checked me out. They're like, okay, it looks like a hematoma, which if you don't know what a hematoma is, it is basically just like a blood clot, basically, that comes from a bruise or something like that. They're like, it should go away on its own. Shouldn't cause you any issues if it's not hurting. Fine. That's cool. All right, great. So a few months later, I'm like, this is not, I was exercising. I was like, this is seeming bigger and it's not going away. And it's kind of getting uncomfortable. No pain, but it's uncomfortable. And so we go and find out they did a biopsy, all of this stuff. So come to find out it's a desmoid tumor, which great that it's benign. So I didn't have any issues there, but it's a tumor that grows quickly. And does what it wants. So we kind of had to make some decisions kind of fast because it was small enough to where, okay, we can kind of, it gave us a little room to make decisions, but also it's growing very quickly. And so with all of that, I kind of talked to my doctor and I was like, I want to try the holistic way first, like before we go to any, Western medicine. He's like, that's fine. He was pretty supportive about it with me. And so I just kind of went and I was just taking a bunch of supplements and trying to figure out like what's going to help my body here, and I do believe that with, changing your diet, you can heal up, a multitude of things. So I was doing that. I was like taking sugar out. I was doing all things because I have a huge sugar bug and that's what was happening. So yeah, I was just eating all the sugar and I was like, it's probably growing because of sugar, but it feeds off of sugar. So it makes sense that I wanted it, So so we get to that. I'm doing everything. And I was come to find out about 3 to 6 months later, we're like, okay, this is not working. And actually it's very large. I looked 6 months pregnant. Like that's how big it was. And that was a whole thing of like, oh, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, actually this was making people uncomfortable. I was fine, but I was just like, it's fine. I was like, no, if I can get more people praying for me, that's great. I'm like, I'll let you know. And I'm like super gracious. Like it takes a lot to make me very, very, very uncomfortable. And so I'm just like, it's fine. And they're just like,
there's my life.
They're just like, go away now. But so it has been that journey. So I did end up going on low dose chemo, which is a chemo pill every day. The side effects were pretty intense for the first 2 weeks. But now it's been about 3 years since I've been on that and I'm still doing my holistic stuff. I've talked to a naturopath doctor. I was taking mistletoe injections.
Mistletoe?
Yes. So it helps to keep it helps keep your immunity up. So I was doing that. I was doing all of these things. And mind you, all these people are getting sick. I was like being forced to my doctor's like, you really need to get the flu shot. You need to do all this stuff. I'm like, I already have all these things in my body. I'm not doing that. And literally by the grace of God, I can count on one hand how many times I've been sick in this 3 years.
Wow.
And so even that has been a blessing. Even though I'm taking this medication that literally depletes your blood cells and makes your immunity super low, I've been, almost thriving and I'm so grateful in that. So yeah, that has brought me to just eating better and just being in the oil community basically. And it's helped my kids a lot too. We use it for literally everything. My husband, like I was telling you, he had migraines really bad. Come to find out they're cranial headaches that they're not migraines, but they're super intense, sharp pains in the head. And I was dousing him in oils. We use peppermint oil and lavender oil to relieve the tension in his headaches, all of it. So I've been there's a place for all things. No doubt he was taking Excedrin also because some things, plant medicine is amazing, but it takes longer to work. And a lot of people don't want to take that time to sit in it because pain hurts. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we don't want to sit and wait for that. We want it to go away right now. And so we definitely use a good balance of both. But it's very much part of my life. I literally use it for everything. It's in our wellness first aid kit. We use it for bumps and bruises and stomach aches and, everything. So yeah, it's always, I'm I got an oil for that, y'all. And I'm it's divided on people about how they feel about, essential oils and things like that. And I'm nah, I'm not in the weird stuff. I don't do the business anymore, but I still use the oils and supplements and things like that. But I'm I've gotten so much out of that. I've gotten oils and my best friend. So
Yeah, there you go. You win-win situation.
100%. But yeah, it's been so beneficial, but I just think it goes back to your whole body wellness, right? It's you attack one thing, but you have to deal with like body, mind, and spirit. It's all connected. And so when we leave one out, you're going to be lacking somewhere. And yeah, things manifest. If you're doing things spiritually and mentally, they're going to manifest in you physically. That's just how our body operates in the beautiful way that we were created. So it's just, you know, they all work together. So I'm just a huge advocate for making sure that we heal our whole body and not just part of it or just symptoms, you know? So yeah.
Try to find the core and really do what you can to take care of every aspect of you instead of just I love that. And I like the balance of the two, of saying, we're using Western medicine, we're using naturopathic medicine, we're seeing how they can work in tandem. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? Like there is so much talk in those fields, or like, you know, it's so black and white. You're either full Western medicine or you're full like crunchy holistic person, and like, oh my gosh, if you do anything on either end, then you're cuckoo, right? And it doesn't matter what side you're on, right? Like if you're full Western medicine and you start using essential oils, people are like, what's wrong with you?
No, exactly. Well, and also like a great update is that like my tumor is shrinking, thankfully. Like my body is responding well, right, to the medication, whereas it's not always, it doesn't respond very well. A lot of people don't, and so I'm grateful in that. So I'm still using the chemo. I've been on that. We're still waiting and seeing to shrink, to do surgery, or till it can go away. Well, you know, we're kind of just open, but you know, between that and my diet and just allowing myself some grace there too, because I still eat stuff that I'm not supposed to eat, but I don't harp on it. I just like get back on the train and keep moving. You know, just going through it. I think it was, for me, it was like they could do surgery right away and it would not be a good option because we'd have to bring in a surgeon, a special surgeon to do all of that, and just, you know, it was just a lot of pieces, and I was just like, what am I in a rush for? Where am I going? I really am going nowhere. Like, I'm living this life, right? Like, I'm just trying to love people well and do what I need to do with my family, and, you know, doing all those things. And so I think it's like, again, that thought of slowing down. I think that's what has caused me to slow down, is also this illness that I have going on, but it got turned into something that was beautiful. Just the community that I've received from it and all of that. Here's my oldest here.
Oh, hi.
You say hi? Yeah, she's at her house. Okay. Yeah, and so it's just it's something that could have been bad, or like my mindset could have been bad. It goes back to mindset. Like, it definitely shifted into like, no, I'm going to be thankful that I have community that can support me and be with my kids and do what I need to do. And also the fact of, I'm not in this alone, and it's going to be okay. You know, it's going to be okay. That's like the beauty that has come out of the whole thing. I'm like, it could have been bad. I was sad for a while. I'm like really just like confused on what I should do, but I'm like, okay, no, I have an amazing community, and I leaned into that support. Somebody who does not want to lean into support, I got it. I'm like, I'm the it's fine. I got it, girl. You know, like, but I had to humble myself and say, no, you don't have this. You don't. And it's okay. It's okay, you know, just to rely on that. So,
you seem like the type that you're like, lean on me, girl. I got you. Lean. Yep. But then as soon as it's time for you to lean on someone else, you're like, this is a little uncomfortable. Like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure I can give you some of my weight? And
can you hold this?
Exactly. But like, I always say it's such a gift to be able to hold someone else and to be able to give to someone else. And so I'm sure that as much as you're receiving from getting to lean on your friends and your community and your husband, they're also getting so much as well from the opportunity to get to care for you and to support you and have your back. Because like, it's a gift to do both sides. And so I'm sure the whole unit of your community is becoming stronger because you're allowing them to support you.
For sure. I always say, like, don't let somebody always let somebody help you if they're like, hey, can I help you? Because you could be stopping them from being a blessing. Okay, like they want to be a blessing, and you're preventing them from doing that, you know. So it's just Definitely. I'm like,
Exactly.
no. Don't refuse the help. Just be like, yes, thank you. I'll take it.
Yes.
Or I don't need help in that way, but you can help with this. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Let people bless you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a blessing to bless, like you said. So like it's that's what community's for, and that's amazing that you've had that and you've gotten to see that even come out more through like all the health stuff. And I think it's such a reflection or a testament of like the way you are caring for your family and yourself and your health by just looking at you. Like you are so vibrant and alive and just like energetic, and to see that as someone you've been taking, like you said, the chemo pill for 3 years now, right?
Yep.
That's a long time to be doing something that is really hard on your body, but like the way that you are still able to be here and be vibrant and be yourself, I think that just really shows like how much you are caring for yourself, all the like pieces.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And also, like, just a side note, I love the short hair on you. Like,
I do too.
It's so freaking cute. It's so cute.
I do too. Like, and it's funny because I'm letting it grow out, but I was like, I definitely, like, when I first cut my hair, it was my favorite look. Like, I could definitely go, like, so close to buzz cut. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
It's, like, such a classic. I, like, felt so awesome. Like, talk about power pose. Like, I felt like that. Like...
Yes.
It's so long. Yes. Like I used to hold on to my hair. I was like, there's no way I can't cut my hair now. Like I don't want to do that. And I always saw people who had their hair cut and I was like, that's amazing. Well, the reason why I cut it was because the medication was like, I could feel like the little strands pulling in my hair. And I had just locked my hair before I got on the medication, dreadlocked my hair. And I was so sad because I had waited it was a huge decision. And I was just like, finally did it. And I was like, no, now I have to cut them. I didn't have to, but it just felt like I needed to. Like it just was time. And I was just like, whoa, why didn't I do this sooner?
You're like, who is this?
Yes, seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know about your health issues. And when I saw your like buzzed head on Instagram, I was like, okay, bitch, like this is so cool. Like you look so badass. And it like highlights your face and your smile. And like, I just love it. I feel like there's something so empowering about being able to not have hair. Yeah. There's just like, I buzzed my hair. It's great. 2 years ago, I buzzed my head. Yeah. And there was no reason. I just had always decided that at one point I was going to buzz my head because I just wanted to feel like what it felt like. Yeah. I loved it. It was so fun. Yeah. I like was touching my head all the time the first like couple weeks. Yes. I was like, I can't stop. Like, it's so crazy. Yeah. And feeling like the breeze, you can feel it on your scalp. Yes. Like, just like really interesting little like sensory stuff like that. But I love that. I feel like it's such a freeing thing to be like, I actually don't need this. I don't need this. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm still like pretty gorgeous. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Right. Yeah. And that's what the biggest thing was. I was like, oh, this is so freeing. I don't have to like worry about my hair. I just get up and go. Like amazing. Yes. I'm like, everybody should just at least once in their life, just cut it off. It'll be fine.
Yes. That's what I literally tell so many people that. Yeah. And I actually talk to a lot of women that are like, yeah, one day I want to buzz my head. But I think it's scary, right? There's like a lot of cultural things. I definitely had some people say stuff like, oh, are you trying to be like a military dude? I had someone say that to me. And I was like, yes, no.
You're like, how weird of a question. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to say that. Like, there's no like right answer. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's like really what the fear can be sometimes. It's like society and like what people are going to say. But I feel like I mostly had so much positive encouragement. And there's something empowering about not having the thing that can really like, you can kind of hide behind it.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah. I actually want to do it again. Maybe I'll do it again.
See, look. It's great.
My husband didn't love it, but you know, like he loves me. So
right.
He can,
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's cool with it. Like he's not ever like, oh, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
But the first time I did it, actually, like he didn't know I was going
to. And that's the worst. Why'd you do that to him?
Because I'm reckless. I have problems, Jess, okay? Like, I'm reckless. And he literally came home, and my friend was there, and she was just like halfway through buzzing my head. And the other half was like, still, like, I still had hair.
You're like,
And
rock
he was just
star.
like, but his reaction was, yep, okay. And then he just like left, and I was like,
no.
But yeah, no, he seemed totally fine with it.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know. I have like this weird thing with hair where I just love to change it when I have like different things in my life changing, you know?
Yeah, yep.
Yep. It's like it reflects. Like when I first had my first big breakup, I like dyed my hair blonde, you know, or like, you know, like the classic like cliches. Yes. There's a breakup, or like you move or something and you do something big. Like I'm all about that. Like,
it's like, you know, she's going through something. She dyed her hair. She chopped it off.
Yeah, exactly. Or something just happened in her life. I don't know what's going on, but something did, because her hair's chopped short, or like she did something, you know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's so fun. I love it. Well, this has been so fun to connect with you and get to know you and hear your heart. I appreciate your vulnerability and being just so open about your story and the good and the bad, including like so many things you've grown from as well. This has been so special to listen and just chat with you.
Yeah, it has been good. I'm like, we need to make it not so long.
I agree.
We chat again.
You know what? Let's be friends. You know how you said you saw. I mean, we're friends, right? But
we are.
Let's be friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be friends.
Do you want to invest in this relationship?
Yes, I do. I do. You know what? I remember. I don't know if you remember, but when we met in Ecuador, I remember like meeting you and instantly connecting with you. Like I thought you were like the funnest, coolest person ever.
That's so funny. I love that.
It's so funny. And I remember connecting with you and being like, this girl's got to be my friend. And I have this like one memory of us eating PB&J in Texas.
Okay.
Do you remember like, that's all we ate was PB&Js. I feel like that's, my memories are literally like, I only ate PB&J. Do we eat anything else? I don't think so. In
Ecuador, we had some good food, but I don't know about in Texas.
In Texas, I think we literally just ate PB&Js all the time.
It was a little dicey.
But I have this memory of us like sitting across from each other eating PB&Js and like could not stop laughing about something. And I have no idea what it was about.
No, that's so funny that's your memory. My memory, for some reason, is we were in the showers. Like, we went into the bathroom and we are like belly laughing. It was so late. I don't know what we saw or why. Again, why were we laughing? I don't know. But we were cracking up. And I don't know why that's like seriously a core memory of like me and you just straight in the bathrooms just cracking up. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
It's so funny. See?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think that's all we did together was just laugh. Because I don't remember why we were laughing either. I just remember we were belly laughing eating PB&Js.
So good. Yes.
So good. So good. That's that's the kind of friends you need. And like in that was a hard experience, right?
It
like
was.
You're leaving your home, you don't know anybody else.
Yeah.
You're going into this like really uncomfortable situation, honestly. And we were young, 15, 16, that's young, right? Yeah. But like, I remember it was so great. I had you and we had another girl there. I can't remember her name that we were friends with as well. But yeah, like that was such a great part of the trip, was getting to have people to connect with and like live the whole experience with. So I'm glad we had that for each other then. And now we can invest into our friendships.
Look at it.
15 years later. Full circle.
It's all good.
I love it. It's so good. Okay, well, do you mind if I wrap up our episode?
Go ahead.
Some rapid fire questions?
Please. And listen, like my charger, I like tried to charge it. We're on thin ropes here. For some reason, it's not wanting to charge. So if I clock out, that was it. I love y'all.
Okay, well, there you go. I'll just throw out two rapid fire questions. All right. Okay, first one is, what is your favorite comfort food that makes you just feel good?
Ooh, that's so hard. Okay. I'm going to go right off the bat. Anything warming. So like lentil soup, Indian food, anything that feels like your heart was put into that dish. Like I always tell my husband, there's any place we like to go. And I'm like, I can just feel the love in this dish right here. Like anything that just makes you feel like just warm and cozy and just loved. Like that's definitely
warms the belly, warms the heart.
Yeah. Like, and that's, I'm like, I want people to feel that when I cook. I want you to feel loved. Like you just, you're healed right now.
Yes. That's why I love cooking, because I love getting to cook for other people and have them just eat and be like, yay, and I'm like, yes,
right.
Put so much love into that.
Yes,
it's amazing. Okay, and then lastly, why do you believe it's important in your own life to be brave?
That's good. I think that's important because a lot of these things are temporal. And you never know what's on the other side of that thing. Like it might not even be as big as we make it out to be, our perception, our mindset. And so when we are being brave, it's not that we're doing things alone, but we can even be brave in leaning into our community. We can be brave in asking for help, And so if we don't do that, that prevents us from even living life. I think we have to be brave to live life, like that's, but it's hard when you don't know who you are, like what you stand for, like all those things. And so I think establishing that is so important, and like dealing with the nitty gritty and ugly things, because it allows you that space to be brave and gives you the opportunity to be brave. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Well, before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to share with people and how they can connect with you or promote?
If you wanted to connect with me, I'm on Instagram at that one girl Jess. So that, and then the number one girl Jess. And I just want to leave with everybody that you are so loved and that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And there's nothing too great that will ever stop you from the love of Jesus, that will ever stop you from genuine relationship. The people who are supposed to be in your circle are supposed to be there, but you have to allow yourself, open yourself up to being loved. Being loved in the dirty and in the ugly and the uncomfortable, because there are people who do want to love you that way. And there's space for you always at the table. You just got to find your people.
Yes. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your story, your heart, your openness. And I feel like everyone's going to listen to this and love it. So I'm so glad that I asked you to be, and that you said yes. But yes, have a beautiful rest of your day. And thank you so much.
Love you.
Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of the Brave Bitches podcast. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, share, review, all that good stuff. Also follow me on Instagram at Hannah Soul Marie or at Brave Bitches without the I for some behind the scenes look and clips from the episode. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. That's gonna be the one.